Hey everybody, welcome back to 50 Shades of Tay. I'm Taylor Gonzalez, and today I am joined by a very special guest. I have Rory Ross with me here today, who has been in several different Star Wars projects as several different characters. So he was a Tusken Raider in the Book of Boba Fett, a stormtrooper in Obi-Wan, and the Mandalorian covert commander in The Mandalorian. Rory, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Jay. Thank you so much for that introduction. I feel very overwhelmed with it's funny to think about all the different things that I've done, especially just even in the Star Wars realm. And so it's kind of a pinch me, like, is this real? Still, kind of moment, you know?
I know that's so awesome that you've been all these different characters, the Tusken Raider, a stormtrooper, and then the Mandalorian covert commander. It's first of all, I had to write it down because I was like, I cannot remember all these characters and all the shows they were in. But also it's kind of like when I was a kid and I would have all my action figures of all the different Star Wars characters, it's kind of like you get to play in all these different sandboxes with all these different types of characters.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, even outside of just being the Tusken Raider, which is the first thing I got to do, which was absolutely amazing and thrilling in that realm, it was also in Kenobi. I played a few different creatures. I played a Trandoshan. I also played a character named Radio, who was in the Myth Lab sort of Breaking Bad moment where Kenobi is trying to find Leia. And then also I played a Melito in the Cantina and a few other things too. So I was on that for like 6 months. So I was kind of like, hey, look, you put me wherever you want. I don't want my face seen, kind of thing. Just because my dream was always to be Luke Skywalker's student as Jedi Academy, and I was like very pertinent on that. And they're like, yeah, hey, all these people want their faces seen, so dude, we'll put you in whatever you know. I was like, all right, cool, cool, cool.
Ah, that is so fun. But yeah, what a dream come true to be able to join the Star Wars galaxy. Before we get into all the Star Wars stuff, though, I have to ask you about something you did, I think over the weekend. You went bungee jumping. And I watched that video on my Instagram with like one eye open. I was like terrified to watch it because that kind of stuff scares the shit out of me. So what was that like for you?
100% the same. I kind of so I decided to go on this hike, and I thought like, hey, this will be fun. And I said to myself, I was like, all right, I know there's bungee jumping here. My girlfriend and I have talked about potentially doing that. And I said to myself, I said, if I get there and there's spots open, I got to do this. The funny thing is, it was Memorial Day weekend, and so in order to even get to this bridge, you have to hike about 4 miles. It's pretty decent. And I apparently took the wrong path. There's a path that's a lot easier treaded, and you can get there within like 2 hours. Instead, I crossed the river like 6 times, and then I'm climbing up this ridge. And there's a few times where I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Because I like climbed on the edge of this ledge that's overlooking the river as it's going decently fast. And I'm like, am I about to like just really screw myself over? Like, so I made sure I told my best friend like where I was at, or one of my really good friends. And but yeah, it was a trip. So because it was Memorial Day weekend, I had hiked 2 miles to even get to the trailhead. So the parking was completely overflowed, and I was just like, oh my gosh, well, I'm not turning back now. And so then I did that hike, and then getting up there. I mean, I think it took me like 6 hours just to get to the bridge itself, and it was an absolutely amazing view. If you just want to see the view alone, it's super cool. The wildlife, breathing in the fresh air that LA isn't necessarily known for is a treat. But then, yeah, I wasn't really nervous so much when I was waiting in line, but as soon as I said, hey, I'm doing this, I'm going to face my fear, kind of thing, it started adding, and feeling the weight of the tether itself, and I'm like, oh man, and then putting my leg over the ledge. I didn't look down. I was literally, they have a target that you look at, and it's kind of help you to like have your eye on the prize, so to speak. But as soon as I was all the way across the ledge and I stand up, and he told me to let go of this little railing, I thought I was about to fall. I thought I was about to just go, oh, and I'm done. Like, and then, so I was really happy with myself that one, I didn't fall right away, and then two, actually, when they go three, two, one, and actually jumping instead of waiting, because I did see there was somebody right before I went, and they couldn't jump for a while there.
Mhm.
They were having some issues, and they had to kind of like coax them, and peer pressure in that way worked and got them off, and they had a great time afterwards. But yeah, but then once I did that first jump, and I was like, this is the way. I was so glad there's no profanity or anything coming out. It was like, and then same for Mandalore as I'm like hanging upside down, like, was super cool. But I haven't posted the other one yet, but I did a second jump.
Oh,
So
wow.
I had a t-shirt, and the second one I went backwards, and I actually jumped and then jumped out, and I got some pretty good air on that, and that was something else.
Oh my gosh. Well, I
That
am
was
looking
jumping
forward
air.
to seeing that second one. But that when I saw that video, I was like, oh, I can't even imagine even
Yeah,
like attempting to do that. So that seems very fun.
it was very fun, and my birthday's coming up, so I kind of justified it that way. And then the other thing too is I feel like, at least for me right now, there's so many kind of unknowns. Life is changing and evolving, and not entirely sure what my next steps are going to be,
Mhm.
professional, personal, etc. And so it was one of those things where I could actually take control of it. I could decide to face that fear, and I can
Mhm.
decide to make that jump. And so for me, it was kind of a confidence booster, and also just allowing me to feel like taking control of my life in some small way.
Oh, very nice. When's your birthday?
June 11th. I'm a
Oh,
Gemini.
nice. Mine's the 6th, June 6th. So yeah, Gemini.
Oh, there you go. Okay,
Very
yeah.
fun, very fun.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm careful. I'm a rising, setting. I guess I'm like the whole 9 yards Gemini, which is not usual. So I feel for my girlfriend and some of my friends. I could be all over the place at
oh
times.
my gosh, that's hilarious. But back to Star Wars, because I can't even like I'm picturing it in my head signing up for bungee jumping, and it's like no, I can't. I don't even think I would want to be there and like watch someone do it. But do you remember the first time that you ever watched Star Wars?
I do. I do. So the first time I saw Star Wars was years and years ago, and I kind of joke of saying that I grew up on a farm far, far away. But I grew up in a small town in Lockridge, Iowa, and there was about 200 residents. And we had emus, ostriches. We had a very much an exotic farm, which was really cool. It was kind of like a zoo. More I think about it. But when I was about 6 years old, I contracted a rare fungus on the back of my head. And what happened was it was destroying my scalp. It was tearing it apart, dissolving it more or less. At the time, I thought I was just losing my hair. So I was freaking out about that. But my mom was literally having like chunks of my scalp and trying to hide it. And so what ended up happening is I ended up in the Iowa City Children's Hospital. And I was there for about a month or so, going through testing and all this kind of stuff. And I was in the infectious disease ward, because when I first got there, I remember they had us go through the back entrance, and they were just terrified of not knowing what was going on. And so they came out in a hazmat suit, and like I went through this whole cleaning process, and it was just like I was freaked out. Right. And so that first day, though, my mom went to the media library and she brought Star Wars A New Hope. And that was the
Oh,
first time I've seen Star Wars. And so for me, like being able to resonate with Luke, his journey, being on a farm, that kind of symbiotic relationship in that sense, and just seeing how he was able to overcome his obstacles gave me the hope I was going to be okay. And so that is something that has permeated throughout my life, and I'm forever thankful and grateful for that opportunity, and that moment, and now to have this full circle where now I'm able to give back to that same hospital, is just awesome.
oh, that is very awesome. Yeah, it's like a full, yeah, like you said, full circle moment. And it's like the Force brought you to Star Wars. When and how did you first find out you were going to be joining Star Wars?
Well, I feel like I need to give a little context because 2020, everything was going crazy. I had dreamed of being on The Mandalorian, or just even on Star Wars in general, right?
Mhm.
All the way throughout those formative years. And by 2020, Mandalorian had come out. 2019, I think, is the fall is when it
Mhm.
came out. And 2021, I think. Let me see if I'm getting this right. 23. So yeah, 2021, I decided to create this campaign called Born to Be a Jedi. And the idea was like, I'm going to let people know what I want in life. And I was like, I want to get on Star Wars. And so I ended up telling some friends, and we got a custom made Jedi outfit made of me, which was super cool. And then by this point, season 2 had started airing. And so found the place where they actually shot the Boba Fett scene where he debuted in season 2. And so I shot up there and got these really cool photos, got me meditating and all this kind of stuff. And with my buddy Tim Bremer, who's Tim the Mando child. And so he came out in his Mando outfit and stuff. And then that Christmas, my girlfriend got me a custom made Jedi figure of me called Jedi Master Ross.
Oh,
And
that's
so
so
all
cool.
this is happening, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I remember going to like the special edition Comic Con, and I came out in my Jedi outfit, and people were like, that's so dope. 2 months later, I'm on set with Tamar Mowry from Sister Sister as a stand-in. We're talking dreams, manifestations. She's telling me to like put it out there, and I was like, yeah, of course. An hour after that conversation, I get a text, and it was essentially asking me to be a Tusken Raider on Book of Boba Fett. And I
Oh,
was like, yo. And so I got the opportunity. I think I did, if I remember correctly, I did tell her like, hey, you won't believe what just happened. I don't know if I told her exactly what had occurred because of NDA and all that kind of stuff, but
mhm.
um, I think hopefully she knows because it was just that cool surreal moment, and then like getting on set the first day and realizing donning on the robes and also how we're all so different from the tribes that we've seen in the past,
Mhm.
and in bringing a new representation to that was really cool. But then also being on Tatooine again, the place that Luke's story began was the place my story began with Star Wars and actually getting on set, and that was just it was a
Oh,
lot of emotions happening that day.
that is awesome. And that actually leads perfectly into my next question. So, in the Book of Boba Fett, we learn a lot more about the Tusken Raiders, and they're portrayed in a different light than we had previously seen. And so, I was wondering, did that surprise you based on your previous knowledge of the species, just how we were able to like humanize them more and get more empathy for the Tusken Raiders?
I don't know if I would say it was surprised me as much. Like I think it was awesome to know that. I feel like perhaps in some of the literature, maybe it was legends that it
Mm,
had explored that before, and so I don't think I was as shocked, but I think I was like definitely like, hey, this is awesome because like you said, we've only seen them as treated as savages or sand people, like they're kind of degraded more or less, and so to have that opportunity where you're seeing that a different tribe of this group of people and showing that just like in life, just because somebody of a certain race, color, whatever it might be, does something does not give a representation of who everyone else is in that same group.
mm,
So I think that was also just really cool to see that. And also even with the Native American story, like I'm 1/8 Alaskan Indian. You would never guess it because I look so white and I burn like nobody's business. But my family, we have a lineage in the Alaskan Indian. I don't think it's Indian. I would have to ask my mom again, but and then we have some Cherokee and stuff like that. But the being is just seeing that story be told
mm.
was super cool, and to have a small part in that was just awesome.
Oh, very cool. And then in The Mandalorian, you're a Mandalorian covert commander. First of all, how incredible was it when you got to try on that suit of armor for the first time? And then also, I'm wondering how heavy is that suit that you have to wear?
Yeah, I mean, the first time donning it on, it's funny. I was originally a pirate, and they'd shot things out of order, and so I'd seen some of the Mandos before, and so I kind of knew what was up. And then they asked me to become this Mandalorian, and I was like, oh my gosh, like yeah, of course, And then they're like, your face isn't gonna be seen. I was like, that's okay. Like this is really cool too. And putting it on the first time, and just also realizing kind of the same thing, like with the Tuskens, we only got to see so many of them, and now to see this different group, it was the same thing with Mandalorians. Like we have been told that the Night of the Thousand Tears, like everyone's gotten wiped out, or there's a very small group left, and so to have this opportunity to play this part of the covert who have protected themselves and they've gone, a bit more dogmatic and religious, and kind of shoehorned themselves into saying like this is the way we have to think, instead of acknowledging and realizing that things have changed, and you don't have to be as protective, but like there's certain elements there, right? But again, just to have that opportunity to portray a new group of Mandalorians that we hadn't really seen as much, and to be the commander was like super cool.
What is it like being on set and being surrounded by stormtroopers, by Mandalorians, by Tusken Raiders? How is it? Do you ever just like take a minute to just look around and like let it all soak in?
Yeah, I mean, all of the above. Like with the Tusken Raiders, I remember there's a scene with us all at the camp, and I remember there was a guy who was like in charge of cleaning the bantha. Like I think he had done it in season 2 or something, and so he's got his gaffy stick. He's over there like cleaning the teeth, and it was just this kind of day in the life of camp. It really made you feel like you were a part of it, and it was just so cool to see how everybody brought this world together. There's it's great when you have star actors say, hey, it's background, it's the people who make that world, make it come to life, because otherwise if you just have two people interacting and they're doing dialogue but you have no context of what's happening, it makes the scene a lot less enhanced or feel like it's lived in.
Mhm.
And so it was just really cool to see that all come together. Stormtrooper aspect, when we got to do the scene with Sung, with the fifth brother, and we're doing that awesome train shot or crane shot overhead. And that took us like 2 days to kind of get that because a lot of us weren't military. So like to get us to march was a little difficult at times. But once we got that and we nailed it, it was just this camaraderie that occurred. And in fact, I wish they show it at some point. I thought they were recording, but the second day that we did the scene, we shot late into the night. We went 15, 16 hours. And so what that is golden time. That means you are now making your day wage per hour after that time. So that was a really nice payday. I'll say that much. But, everyone's exhausted. We finally get the take. And then Sung says, let's do one more. And they're like, all right, stormtroopers want to do one more take. All right, everybody, get ready. And then Sung comes over to us and he says, hey, guys, we're going to dance. We're like, what? He's like, we're going to get to the middle of the floor and we're going to dance. And, and we're like, so we're like kind of doing like a telephone, like telling everybody, the set of us. And we start walking, and sure enough, like right in the middle of the stage, he starts doing the running man and he takes off and he's like, it's you guys. And so then I'm all like, oh, shoot. And so I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, I wanted to make sure people know which stormtrooper I was because, we all looked very similar at this point. We were on in the clean outfit. And so I decided to do like this butt shuffle sort of thing. So I got real low and got my butt to the ground, which is like and and then we ended up like dancing again in the middle, and then everyone's kind of laughing, clapping, maybe also a little bit mad that like that's what we did the take for. But unfortunately, when it came to the gallery, you never see that. So I don't
Yeah.
know if someone's holding on to this or like maybe they just told us they were recording and they actually were like, nah, we got the take. Like, we don't have to worry about that. I have no idea. And then the Mandalorian stuff, like, I think one of the coolest, there was really two that point out to me. It's when Tate Paz Vizsla, he gets Ragnar back and I greet him and, go like this and like, this is the way. And I remember when we did that, they were trying to get us to like be boisterous and, and hey, this is awesome. I think we had been shooting for a while. It was hot outside, and that armor is not light.
Mm-hmm.
It's decently heavy. Like, when you have your jetpack, I would say at least it's 15 pounds or so. And so not everyone was maybe as enigmatic as they could have been. And every single time, anytime we had This Is the Way or For Mandalore, I was loud as hell. I was like,
Yeah.
I want to make sure my voice is heard. And I remember there was a few people behind the camera that were laughing and acknowledging that aspect. But seeing everybody around, and then also, when we were at the Forge, and Dave and John come out talking about like how serious the scene is, making sure that people don't talk about it, keeping it a secret, just like how Luke Skywalker, when we saw his unveil, for the most part, no one knew about that. They thought maybe he was Plo Koon or something else, and like as soon as you see that X-wing though, and you're watching as a fan, you're like, oh dude, and then the lightsaber ignites the green, and I'm like, oh, and just this whole like nerdgasm, so to speak, like happens. But they were like, hey, we want to keep this secret and safe, and so that was just really cool to be a part of that, and that moment where we're seeing people kind of get baptized in the water, and the Mandalorians coming together and being like, we are one, was
Oh,
awesome.
that is so fun. So
Yeah.
when these shows air on a weekly basis on Disney Plus, do you do anything special? Do you have friends over, family over? Do you have like a watch party?
Yeah, I mean, so typically, like in general, before I was on the shows, like I would watch them kind of like the midnight, release and figure that out. For Mando season 3 specifically, I actually decided to do a watch party where the money charity, basically those that watched with me, if they donated to the Iowa City Children's Hospital, which I had mentioned earlier, then like I would send them like a little ring, and we just had a chance to like talk, and they could ask me questions in real time, and that was a lot of fun because originally I wanted to do that for Boba Fett, and Disney wasn't up for it. Same with Kenobi, and then Mando. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it. I'm not doing anything illegal per se or anything like that, and I just wanted to find a way to bring awareness to a great cause, and into the place that made my Star Wars story kind of begin, have a way of giving back to those families, which is again just a great opportunity.
Yeah, I know. I think that's so great that you do that. At the end of this video, I'll have you shout out the charity one more time, and I'll make sure to put a link in the description of the video so people can also go and check it out and support.
Oh heck
I think
yeah,
that's,
that's
yeah, I think
awesome.
that's a great thing that you do. So I was also wondering, what is it like to get to work in the volume? Because we at home get to see, some footage of it in the gallery, like you mentioned earlier, or sometimes they'll put up some behind the scenes stuff on social media. But you being there in person, what is the volume like, and how does it help as an actor versus being in front of like a blue screen or a green screen?
Yeah, I was so with a blue screen or a green screen, you're just seeing this one layer, and you have to imagine what is there. So sometimes they'll have like a tennis ball or something, and it's supposed to be like, hey, here's your eye line, like focus on this. And so kudos to all the Marvel actors that have had to do that over the years. The volume really brings to life the set, and whether it's a enhances the set, which means or extends it. So maybe you would have a physical wall, and now the volume itself extends that wall, so it seems like it goes on forever, um, or just gives you more of a grasp of sort of the context of the environment. And then also just in general, like when we were doing Dayu scenes for Kenobi and seeing the city life and how they can make it either expand as if you're walking to somewhere or contract as if you're walking further away was really cool. And it's what's crazy is you can actually see the camera frame, and so when you walk past that, all of a sudden you can kind of get a little discombobulated because you're like,
Mhm.
whoa, like okay, things were moving and now everything is like stationary and now this is also different. And it's just because they focus in on the area that the camera sees, and that's what gets all like the sort of computer processing power, etc., so that it's really enhancing that aspect. So as an actor, being able to have something that you can act with and you can get more of an idea of the scope of the
Mhm.
world is really, really awesome and incredibly beneficial in so many ways. And I think that just adds more layers that you can also think about. And as you're acting, is it hot outside? Is it windy? What are you seeing on the other side? Giving you more context of the situation, so that when you're doing a line or something like that, that is helping you understand other dynamics that would come with that.
Oh, that is so cool. I am like dying to visit the set one day and see the volume. I think parts of some of these Star Wars Disney Plus shows are filmed out by my boyfriend's dad's house. Golden Oak Ranch or Golden Valley Ranch, something like that. I know they film a lot of the Marvel stuff there. Like they filmed WandaVision there, and when you could drive by it and see like the whole town set up and stuff like that. And I
Oh, that's
think they
cool.
do some of the Star Wars like pickups there. So I just would love to see the volume up close and in person. I just think, oh, it
Yeah.
would be so crazy. I also know that you are partaking in a fan film that's about to release. Did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So I'm actually a part of two different fan films.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so one of them is my own. It's called I was gonna say Born to Be a Jedi, but that's not it. It's a Path of the Lost, and it's a little bit of sort of my story of what I wanted to be with Luke Skywalker. And without giving out too much, I am one of Luke Skywalker's students, and it takes place a little like after and before, after the ransacking of Kylo Ren and the temple, and then before Force Awakens.
Oh, nice.
So there's a journey that happens in there, and we have shown that there's a night sister involved, and so
Mm.
that was really cool. So we had this. What's crazy, we had this imagined before even Ahsoka, I think, was either announced or that we knew that night sisters were going to be there.
Oh,
And so
cool.
it's just taking some time with the strike that happened last year. It was
Mm.
something where I took a step back because I just didn't want to be affiliated with Disney in that sense at that point, just because of what was going on, and SAG saying, hey, you have to make sure that you're not promoting anything from these studios, etc. And so that was something where I was like, okay. So unfortunately, we weren't able to film it like we wanted to last year, and then this year it's just kind of been a little crazy in general. And then the one that I have already filmed, I think we have to do some pickups later this fall, but it's the from a certain point of view, it's a I'm trying to remember what the actual Civil War. So it's
Oh, nice.
all about the Mandalorians and what happened after the Night of a Thousand Tears, and why there's two different groups that we really see in Mandalorian, at least from our point of view. Like again, it's not canon, it's not
Mhm.
anything like that. This is all fan made, and this is just with our interpretation. But it's something that we wanted to make, and we had some really great people attached to it. We had one of the DPs from frickin' Maverick, I want to say, and some people from John Wick, and like the stunt teams
Dang.
that we had. It was crazy. And so I think when fans finally get to see this, I think they're going to be really surprised and amazed at the quality that is there and what we were able to create. And so I think there's going to be a trailer or something coming out before too long, but it's one of those things where we're just trying to figure out what's the best way and making sure it gets all the love that we can possibly give it, so that it's ready for, because it'll probably end up coming out next year if I were to guess. But we'll see. We'll see.
Oh, very cool. I'm looking forward to both of those. Those both sound very fun.
Yeah.
So, did you want to just shout out the charity one more time and where people can go if they want to get involved?
Yeah. So you can check out on my Instagram. There's the link tree or whatever right there. And on the very top, it says, May the charity be with you. And that is my campaign for the Iowa City Children's Hospital, because 5% of everything I make when I'm doing signings or anything like that, it goes to Iowa City Children's Hospital. And so you can see the donations there and see where people have donated. And then also right now we're doing a t-shirt design contest. So it's getting extended to my birthday, June 11th. But basically you create a t-shirt that is in line with the campaign. And then once June 11th happens, I'll put those up and people will be able to vote. And then whoever gets the highest, that one will be chosen. And then I'll sign it, autograph that t-shirt for that person. And then those will be on site for sale, and all the proceeds would go to the Children's Hospital.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I will make sure to put a link in the description of this video so everyone can check it out and get involved. I think that's wonderful what you do. And then I have one final question for you. So after all the characters that we've talked about, the Tusken Raider, the Stormtrooper, the Covert, Commander, if you could be any other character or species or maybe even a droid, is there another kind of creature or alien out there that you would want to play next?
Well, so character again would be Luke Skywalker, student as Jedi Academy. That's the one. Oof, alien or something. I've played a Biff too. I did the Biff in the Lizzo Jack Black scene.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Man, it's a really good question. Um, I mean, honestly, being a male from Dathomir would be pretty
Oh,
good,
yeah. That'd be
actually.
awesome.
Yeah, as a Brack. Uh, that's the one that kind of comes to my mind. I'm too short to be a Wampa.
Okay.
Can't do that. I don't know. Like, I mean, honestly, it's just so much fun being able to play these characters and having the opportunity. Like with the Melito, my buddy Greg Kufera and we were the ones that actually kind of got to create the mannerisms, so to speak. Because if I remember correctly, Sarlacc Plank, um, I don't know if I said his name correct. I think that's what it is. But he was supposed to be in Force Awakens, and either you only see him for a hot minute or barely at all. And he's in the visual dictionary. But with Kenobi, it was like, hey, this is, that's when the Grand Inquisitor is walking around, and they really spotlighted us. And so we got to create the mannerisms of this kind of like insect creature. And that was really cool to have that opportunity to kind of have a say in how that would play out.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Rory, it's been very nice to meet you and to speak with you. And I will keep my eye out for both of the fan films that you're in. And also, I'll keep an eye out to see, because you know how they're releasing some of these Disney Plus series on Blu-ray. I wonder if maybe on the Blu-ray you'll get the scene of you dancing as a stormtrooper. That'd be great.
That would be absolutely amazing. That'd be, I mean, hey, that'd be super cool. I can't remember. I think Andor is getting some blooper reels, but I didn't see anything on Kenobi. But hey, I would be happy to be surprised. And also, if anybody has a chance to see us at Rebel Scum, we're going to be there June 26th through 28th. I hope I'm
That's in
saying
Texas, right?
in Texas, in Allen,
Oh
Texas.
man, I wish
And,
I could go.
and
That
they
sounds
just
like so much
announced
fun.
Ahmed Best is going to be there. Vivian Blair, who played young Princess Leia, and also Grant Feely. So it's going to be a really cool kind of Kenobi reunion too, for
Oh,
a lot of us over there.
that'll be so much fun. Oh, I hope you have the best time. And thank you again for joining me. This was such a fun opportunity, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tate, for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
And happy early birthday.
Yeah, thank you. And to
Have
everyone
a
else, may the force be with you. And this is the way.
Oh, perfect. There you go. Bye.
I